hard to imagine Grimsby without having the Ross Tiger here, and for the last 30 years Ross Tiger's sat in the heart of the town representing the industry that made Grimsby famous around the world. And of course before that we had a fish dock full of trawlers like her. So it's so important for people coming to Grimsby to understand about our local culture and heritage, to see a unique trawler like this. And it really is a rare survivor. Of all those hundreds that we had, there's only just a few of these that are left in all of the UK.
The Ross Tiger was one of the first ships I started my career on, so it was the beginning of a lifetime of fishing. So yeah, it's quite important that we keep the ship. It's very important we keep the ship because now she's one of the last of this kind left. There is no more, and fishermen now are a dying breed who can tell the story. So it's very important that we keep the ship and keep the men that are working on her and give the tours.
She's a big part of my life when I think about it, and not only my life. She was a big part of the town's heritage. You can say that 70, 80, 90% of the population in Grimsby in the 60s, 70s was connected with the fishing industry in some way or other. Without the fishing industry, Grimsby would still be a little village at the end of a railway line if the railway line had come at all. So it's very important that she's saved and preserved so that people can come and see what actually went on. You know, people can get a bit of fish on the plate and they've got no idea where it's come from. They don't realise that what people have gone through, sometimes at the cost of a life, you know, to put that fish on that plate. So it's vitally important that this ship is preserved for future generations. It must never be forgotten.
Well, I mean, the Ross Tiger is a fantastic asset to North East Lincolnshire Council. I mean, take a look behind me. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a ship that's got history spewing out everywhere on it. I mean, it was created back in the 50s. It was the bee's knees of a boat in the day, and it was part of the biggest fishing fleet in the world. And that's the important thing to us, and it's important we maintain it at North East Lincolnshire Council.
It's the jewel in the crown for the Heritage Centre and also for Grimsby, and it's very important we retain the history of the fishing industry and what Grimsby's all about.
The Ross Tiger is such an important part of Grimsby's heritage. She represents not only all the hard-working men that came out to sea and were so brave, bracing the elements in order to feed the nation its favourite dish, fish and chips, but it also represents all those hard-working men and women that worked on the docks to support the fishing industry. And that's what Grimsby was built on, was the strength of our fishing industry. And Ross Tiger is a real physical representation of that. When you look at her, you're looking at the past, you're looking at all the hard work that was done on the ship and on the docks to make Grimsby what it was. We're so lucky that we have tour guides on the Ross Tiger that actually experience what it was like to work at sea, and they give us such a unique insight into that. And we're really proud that we've got those people to actually show people around the ship and tell them about how hard it was, but also how wonderful it was in a way as well.
If there's one thing that truly symbolises what's great about our town, Great Grimsby, it's the mighty Ross Tiger. Happy 30th.
The Ross Tiger, very special for me. I joined in 2014 and I've had great fun taking visitors around the ship. It's very important that the ship stays here. Been here 30 years. Ideally, it would be nice to get it into a dry dock. Then we would be able to definitely say it's going to be ours forever. But it's a massive focal point for Grimsby, and we do definitely need to keep the ship. You can't replicate this. You can look at films, you can look at pictures, but to actually come on the special vessel is a really special day.
We've got to recognise the contribution that the fishermen made to Grimsby. Over 7,000 men lost their lives when they were out on vessels fishing for the area, and that sacrifice shouldn't be forgotten. And I think we've got in the Ross Tiger we've got a fine example of the heritage of the area, and we shouldn't forget that.
So I'm Grimsby born and bred, and like a lot of people in the local area, I have family who were part of the fishing industry and also worked as part of the dock area. So to have a fabulous heritage asset like the Ross Tiger is a wonderful opportunity for myself and for other local people to get up and close to our rich maritime history. We're so lucky to have her, and it's wonderful to be celebrating her anniversary with North East Lincolnshire Council. I'm also really proud of the team at the Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre who look after the Ross Tigers on a daily basis. And we also have our wonderful trawler guides that bring the whole experience to life. So all I can do is to encourage you to come along to the Heritage Centre, have a visit, do the Ross Tiger tour, and reconnect or connect with our rich maritime history.
40 years ago, I worked aboard here with Dennis, the other tour guide, and it's important that we get the story about the Ross Tiger, because that's all we have left in Grimsby, the biggest fishing industry in the world. 400 ships and 8,000 men working in the docks, etc. And to lose that basically overnight was very hard for the industry. All we've got left now is Ross Tiger and the Heritage Centre, and it's important that we keep our heritage alive. We can keep the motions going. We have plenty of schools around the Heritage Centre, the general public, and that enlightens the story of the fishing industry, because they, without us telling them, they had no idea the work we had to go through and the conditions we went through to put fish and chips on the plate.
It's so important that we keep the Ross Tiger here. When you think for the last 30 years, thousands of visitors, school children, people from all over the world have explored the Ross Tiger and the Fishing Heritage Centre, learning the Grimsby story, what life was like, and seeing for themselves with their own eyes. Because you can look at photographs in books, you can look at archive films, you can speak to people that were there, but to actually climb aboard the ship itself, you can smell it, you can feel it, you can experience it, and there is no substitute for that.